Where are you, Kirti Mataji? Yeah. All right, let's start. Gomagyan Timirandasya Gyananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manuvishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahiyam Dadati Sa. Where are you, Kirti Mataji? Yeah. Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinbandhu Jagatpate. All right, let's start. Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste. Saptakancan Garangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Pre. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shiv Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shinavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 1. We have to start from verse 28, I think, right? The last section. Am I right? So we've studied chapter 1. Who is the first speaker of the verse? Who speaks first in? Yeah.
Dhritarashtra Mataji.
Dhritarashtra. What is he saying? What is he saying?
Mataji,
Sanjaya.
Okay.
What
Madhu,
are they doing?
Yeah. Thank you. Madan Mohan Krishna Leela Das Prabhu, what are they saying?
saying my sons and Pandu's sons, what are doing in the battlefield, we want to know.
Thank you. And who is the next speaker in chapter 1? One is Dhritarashtra. Then who speaks next?
Sanjaya.
Okay. Logical answer. Okay. And who is the next speaker? The next introduced personality.
Duryodhan
Duryodhan.
Duryodhan.
Yes.
And then Sanjay talks about Krishna and Arjun and Pandavas blowing their conch shells, and then we discussed various signs of victory. And then where did we end? Okay, so where did we end? Sorry, that Arjun is putting a request to Krishna. What was his request? What is his request? Arjun's request to Krishna.
To put the chariot in the middle of the battlefield.
Okay, and then Krishna brings the chariot, and then Krishna says something. What does he say? What does Krishna say to Arjun after he brings the chariot in the middle? Are you all reading? This
Yes,
is a very...
Behold the Kurus.
Behold the Kurus who have assembled here. Okay, so Bhakti Shastri is 60% self-driven, 40% you just come to class to basically reinforce what you're reading. Okay, it's not like you're gonna start from scratch. That's how every Bhakti Shastri course is. You're expected to read. So these are the summaries. One second. Where am I? One second. So we're going to start from this. We studied from verse number 1 to verse number 27, introduction for Krishna, preparations for war. Then 28 to 46, Arjun is asking his doubt. Okay, so Arjun will give reasons to not to fight. And this is a summary of his reasons that he's going to give. No need to get panicked or feel overwhelmed by the crowdiness of the slide, because it'll come to you. And it is in the handbook as well. Your handbook, the student handbook, it is there as well. Whatever I'm showing over here. Okay, so it's nothing that's not there for you. He's going to give the reason of compassion. He's going to give the reason of no enjoyment. He will give the reason of destruction of the family and fear of sinful reactions. Then in the next chapter, he will give one more reason, which is indecision. So compassion, let's see. Arjun's reaction so Arjun, when he sees the army of the Kauravas, these are his reactions. Okay, I'm just presenting like the zest because this chapter is like that. Next chapter onwards will be a little more detailed. But Arjun's reactions of limb quivering, mouth drying up after seeing his relatives. So he is, Prabhupada writes in the purport of this particular verse that the reactions that he's having, that his limbs are quivering, his Gandiva bow is slipping, his mouth is drying up, his mind is reeling. So it's not because he's scared. Okay, it's not a direction, it's not a sign of fearfulness that, oh my God, I have to fight with such a big army. It's not that. It is because of the compassion. It is because of the soft-heartedness, because he foresees the death of his family members and the soldiers. Basically, he has compassion for everyone and the opposite party. So again, limbs quivering, mouth drying up, whole body is trembling, hair on the body is standing on the end, Gandiva bow is slipping, skin is burning and unable to stand on the legs any longer. Forgetting myself, mind reeling due to weakness of the heart, sees only misfortune. So Arjun's further symptoms: whole body trembling, hair standing on end, Gandiva slipping, skin burning. So you see, Bhagavad Gita is not impersonal. Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue. Remember, we discussed this in the beginning. It's not a monologue. So dialogue means two people. And in this, Krishna has only spoken once so far. Krishna, it's early in the morning for me here. And Prabhupada, and it's full of personalism, Bhagavad Gita. And otherwise, how will we know what are the feelings of Arjun and what Krishna is going to say? How can you talk if you're energy? Have you ever seen a bulb talking? Can a bulb talk to you? You know, because it's light energy. Let the bulb talk to you. Does the bulb talk to you?
No.
No, Mataji.
So only a person or a personality or a living entity who has ability can talk. So if Krishna is talking, if Arjun is talking, that means that they are persons. Supreme person. Krishna is supreme person, but a person. So Arjun's symptoms: body trembling, hair standing on end, Gandiva slipping, skin burning. Prabhupada explains that these symptoms happen due to two conditions in the purport. One is the great spiritual ecstasy, and another one is great fear of material conditions. So spiritual ecstasy does not cause any fear. It actually causes ecstasy. Right? We study about these 8 kind of changes in the body of spiritually advanced personality. And ecstasy or hair standing on end or body trembling are one or some of them. Then the other is Arjun's great fear because of great fear and material condition. That's why Arjun is showing these symptoms in verse number 29, because he's fearing the loss of life. And why is he fearing? Why are we fearing that there's going to be death? Because we have material conception of life, because we see ourselves as body. It's a very detailed science. We see ourselves as body, so we see ourselves, and the body is going to die. We will study in chapter 13 that Prakriti or material nature is constantly changing, mutable. So that leads to this Ditya, or we forget Krishna. So we are products of matter, and we are this material body. Life's ultimate goal is only material pleasure through senses. That causes fear. So Arjun further symptoms and sees only causes of misfortune from verse 30. Arjun sees only misfortune. This is a nutshell of what's happening. By Krishna's will, Arjun is showing the symptoms, but Krishna is right there. He cannot be so bewildered. But it is Krishna's will that Arjun is showing these symptoms of forgetting himself, which leads to weakness of the mind. And then also excessive material attachment also leads to forgetting himself, which leads to fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium. I think everyone is understanding this. I'm just going through like the key point in the verse. Then nimittane viparitani means seeing only opposite things. Viparit means opposite, right? In Hindi. So nimittane viparitani means that only seeing misfortune, only seeing, frustration or calamity. So Prabhupada writes this very important thing, that every living entity is generally interested in himself and his own welfare. And that is the cause of the suffering. So how do we change this concept? Interested in himself and his own welfare, which causes suffering because we can never protect the body. It's not possible. Even if you're sitting, Prabhupada explains that there was a person who thought that if he smears his body with the stool, Yamaraj will not come out of the bad smell. He did that. But did the Yamaraj not come? He came. So we suffer because we don't know our real self-interest. And according to scriptures, the real self-interest is Krishna, which leads to fearlessness. What is the verse? Nate vidu swartagatam hi Vishnu. So the real self-interest is Krishna. And Krishna is addressed here as Keshav because he wants, Arjun wants Krishna to remove his demon-like doubts. Understood? So, so far what we've studied is that Arjun is giving a reason that he's going to see only nimittani viparitani, or calamity. So he does not want to fight. And Prabhupada and he's showing all these different symptoms. And Prabhupada is explaining that why is he showing these symptoms? Because he's in the weakness of the heart. Yes, of course, there is soft-heartedness as well because of the compassion, but he's also fearful. The answer cannot be that he's scared of the size of the opposite army. That's not given. The answer just cannot be that he's like, yes, he's gauging the strength of the opposite army, but he's not scared to fight. Okay, that's the key point. And then no enjoyment, this verse onward till I think next few verses, Arjun gives second reason of not fighting, that he cannot even enjoy the kingdom at the cost of killing the relatives. Srila Prabhupada explains that we in the material world want to have so many things in our life and we want to enjoy. And how do we enjoy? By showing it off, by calling our relatives, by calling our friends. If somebody buys a big house, then they want to be able to host too many people, right? What is the real goal? Is that everybody appreciates that their house is so big. That's the real goal, which is like, I'm not trying to find fault, but that's how we are wired right now. And he's saying, I'm going to win this kingdom. Arjun is saying, I'm going to win this kingdom, but there'll be nobody remaining. All my family members will be dead and gone. So where is this enjoyment? Okay, so that's what he's saying. Krishna, which is right, am I going to go around in the empty, what do you say, kingdom without my relatives? So I don't want to read this because this we will read in the next chapter as well. But what this slide is telling us is that Arjun is a Kshatriya. And Arjun, if he is Kshatriya, if he dies on the battlefield, he becomes eligible to enter the sun planet because it is happening under the direction of Krishna. But if he wins, he's going to enjoy the material the material assets. But because, despite of being a Kshatriya, because he's attached to bodily relationships and he's hoping to be happy in that relationships, he's thinking that he'll kill his relatives and there'll be no happiness, so he's not willing to fight. Basically, he'll say that I would rather live in a secluded place in a life, so my relatives, my relations can go on living. Prabhupada gives the analogy that a hungry person is not willing to cook. So he says he's so attached to the family that he's not willing to kill them. An analogy given is a hungry person is not going to cook because they're not. I'm sorry, a person who is not hungry is not going to cook. Understood. So the moral codes are to fight, but because he is bewildered, he's giving this reason. You in Bhakti Shastri should be able to explain this. In other levels, we just expect that list the reasons. Okay, what are the different reasons? But in Bhakti Shastri, that is why a lot of time has been spent here. You must be able to explain that what is the real thing going on, which are all there in Srila Prabhupada's purports. There's nothing out from outside so far. So Arjun is not ready to fight even in exchange of the three worlds because of the spirit of no enjoyment. From verse 31, he proposes that he's not going to fight. And verse 32 to 35, he says, even what about this kingdom on the planet Earth? Even if you give me the three worlds, I will still not fight Krishna. Okay. So far, how many reasons are given by Arjun to Krishna for not fighting? How many reasons?
2 reasons, Mataji.
Okay. What are the 2 reasons?
Compassion and no enjoyment.
Thank you. Now I want someone else to tell me what is compassion.
5 reasons.
How do you say? Huh?
5
Suprajama.
reasons.
So far in our discussions, how many reasons have
Okay,
been
yeah,
given?
2 reasons. Yeah.
So explain the compassion, someone please.
Compassion for the friends and relatives he had, Mataji.
Okay, explain it. How do you
Because
say that he had compassion?
because he did not want to kill them, so he's worried that they'll die if he goes ahead with this war. So he's being like very compassionate and is trying to stop it.
Okay. Thank you. Very nice. So 3 things, right, happening. We objectively study it. So one is like he's compassionate, yes, and then he's also fearful because of the loss of life, and he's also having soft-heartedness. So you must be able to explain all these 3 things. These are very nitty-gritty details. But you have to read the chapter 2-3 times to grasp all this. So his compassion is shown in his worry or fear of life. Yes, a loss of life. His soft-heartedness because he's a devotee of Krishna. He does not want to kill anyone, not even the soldiers of the opposite party. And plus, he says that my family is object of my affection. Why will I kill my family? Okay. So, and then what is the second reason that he's giving that he's not going to fight? What have we studied so far? One is compassion. Second one is
He was
Alka
highly
Mataji.
worried for family also because they all are relatives and friends mainly. If they die, then what will happen to the little children and the women of the families? So
We
he
are
was
not there yet. We're not. We have only discussed 2 reasons. You're absolutely right, but we are not there yet. Second reason, what did we discuss? That he's not gonna fight.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Vantaji.
If he is going to kill his relatives and friends, then there will be no one left to show off his opulence after his victory. So he is fearing loss of enjoyment even after victory.
Yeah, so no enjoyment is the second reason from verse 31 to 35, that if everybody is dead and gone, and he says no enjoyment to the extent that he does not see it not being enjoyable, not just the kingdom that he might win, but also even if he's offered the 3 world worth of kingdom. It's like so much affected. Just try to, stand in Arjun's shoes, at least in your mental space, that is so affected that he doesn't want to do it. That's what it takes so much. And then the more we are in distress, the more if one is a devotee goes to Krishna. The analogy given is, have you ever seen somebody shooting a bow, an arrow, shooting a arrow from a bow? You ever seen someone like shooting an arrow from a bow? Yeah, you understand what shooting an arrow from a bow means? So when they're gonna get ready to shoot an arrow from the bow, what is the first thing they do? They pull back, right? They pull back.
arrow.
So, but arrow has to go in the front, so why are you pulling back? Can be the question which can be raised. Because we want to gain the momentum, right? The bow has to gain a momentum. So Arjun, yes, this is all a play of Krishna, we understand, but we are in this. Every conditioned soul, whoever is in the material world, is in this, where Arjun is standing right now. So we have to gain that momentum to be able to understand Krishna. And the more momentum it gains, the further it goes. So the more we understand that we are in trouble without Krishna consciousness, the further our progress will be in Krishna consciousness. Okay. I think I'll skip this because you can have this. So the not ready to fight even in exchange of the three worlds. The living entity is trying to satisfy his own senses and goes to Krishna as an order supplier. Hey, oh God, give me this, give me that, give me this, right? My Guru Maharaj tells a story in London. He said he was in London, the Bhaktivedanta Manor, and he was praying to the deities at the taking darshan, and then some devotee from outside came and started complaining to the deities. He said he heard it. It was a complaint that I prayed to you to get my son A+ grades. He only got A grade. So Guru Maharaj always tells about it in his class that, we do like that. I'm not trying to find fault in that either, because where are we going to go? If I have a need, where will I go? Better to go to Krishna. Right? There's this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Akama Sarva Kama Va Moksha Kama Udharadi Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Malabhate Paramam Gatim, something. So Akama Sarva Kama Va Moksha Kama Udharadi. So whether you are Akam means non-material desire, Sarvakam, all material desires, or Mokshakam, or desiring liberation, doesn't matter. Go to Krishna. I think it's second canto, first chapter, verse 9 or 10, something like that. So living entity, but that's not the discussion here. Here is that he's not ready to fight in exchange of the three worlds because we think Krishna is the order supply for my sense gratification. So senses are satisfied, only Lord will satisfy to the extent they deserve and not desire. But if a living entity tries to satisfy Krishna's senses, then by Lord's will, all his desires are satisfied. You get it? So if we go to Krishna, everything is satisfied. If we are just trying to struggle very hard to satisfy our senses, then only we get what we deserve. But Arjun's material calculation is he's unable to share opulence with relatives, so he decides not to fight even in exchange of the three worlds. Okay, so basically he's acting as a conditioned soul. He's acting as a conditioned soul. We are a conditioned soul. He's acting. So spiritual understanding is devotee is ready to accept any opulence if Krishna wants, and do not complain otherwise if Krishna does not desire. This is a goal to be achieved. At least we must know where we are going. This is a goal to be achieved. We might not be there yet. That's fine, but this is a goal to be achieved. So Arjun, being devotee, very kind-hearted, wants to forgive his relatives. Lord tolerates mischiefs on himself, but not on his devotee. So Krishna is very determined to punish. This is the external reason. Krishna is very determined to punish the non-devotee. But Krishna's punishment and Krishna's benediction is same, because there is no duality in Krishna. It's not dual, non-dual, right? Dvanda nirmukta. He's non-dual. So even if somebody says Krishna is punishing, it's as good as Krishna is giving benediction. So now, fearful of sinful reactions. This is very important for each one of us to understand. There are many questions also on this. And also understand that how he's building up that this is a sinful reaction. Acting as a Kshatriya on the battlefield of Mahabharata is a sinful reaction. How? What is his argument? There are 6 kinds of people who, aggressors, who if killed, there's no sinful reaction. What are they? Poison giver, one who sets fire on the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, who plunders one's riches, occupies another's land, or kidnaps another's wife. So they can be punished. No sinful reaction. So Kauravas did all 6, right? They gave poison, cake. They made a house made of lac. They put Pandavas in a house made of lac because they wanted to set fire. They were attacking multiple times with deadly weapons. They had plundered their riches. They had occupied their land. They had tried to insult Draupadi. So all 6 things. So this is from the moral codes. In the moral codes, according to Manu Samhita, these 6 kind of aggressors, if they are punished, if they're killed, then there is no sinful reaction. And Kauravas had done all 6. Prabhupada is explaining in the purpose. So even if we look at it from moral aspect, it's still not wrong to kill them. All right, but eventually we will discuss that what is the difference between spirituality and morality. Any questions so far? I feel like I've been speaking. Any question,
Yes,
any
Mataji.
reflection? Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Mataji, when
Krishna.
we say these can be killed, but who gives the punishment here? Who will not get
Well,
the sinful reaction?
Yeah. So very nice question. It has to be under the supervision. The one who is the executor of the law, that gives a punishment under the supervision of a Brahmana. Ideal world is like that. And who is executor of the law under the supervision of the Brahmana gives the punishment. Okay. Because they can, not everyone has the Kshatriya heart. Why do we see, once we had a discussion that, you know how army recruits people, right, all over the world at present moment, they are recruiting people not on their ability of Kshatriya skills, but by enticing them with the benefits of joining army. If you join army, then you're going to get free health insurance for your life, or free get discount on your real estate, or this. So they give like a list, or your education. I have so many students who joined army because their education was paid off. So they are actually, right now it's a chaos, but the things are streamlined for us if we actually go to a proper source. So right now it is difficult to decide who gives the punishment, because everybody wants to give the punishment. Nobody wants to be called as a non-moral person. But according to the proper sources, the lawgiver, the executor of the law, gives the punishment under the supervision of the Brahmanas. But if the lawgiver is not proper, then the Brahmanas give the punishment, right? We have the pastime of King Vena in 4th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. He was such a bad king that he was killed by chanting of the mantras by the Brahmanas. You're so bad in your ruling, you're so demoniac. Okay, but Brahmanas take provision. So Arjun continues fearing about sinful reaction by destroying the family. So Arjun sees, due to greed, the opposite party is ready, fight and kill each other. Okay, this is very interesting. But Arjun understands the result of war, destruction of family. So he sees no benefit in participating in these sinful activities. Kshatriya is not expected to refuse an invitation to fight or to gamble. So Arjun sees the other party is blind of the effect of this challenge. He, knowing the evil consequences, is not ready to fight. Prabhupada says that, we analyze our life according to our little nitty-gritty experience that only foresees the misfortune, and not seeing the hand of the Lord. So we will discuss in next chapter the most important element in next chapter discussion is how do we actually make a decision. We have to make so many decisions every day. How do we actually go about making a decision? What is the right approach to make a decision? So just understand the background of that discussion will be based on this, that Arjun is perceiving his situation, and he's advising Krishna, actually. He's advising Krishna that Krishna, they are greedy. They're acting out of greed, and the consequences are going to be borne by all of us in the family. So it's better not to fight. Let them be. Let them just satisfy their greed. Advising Krishna. Yes, Prabhu, you have a question, your hand is raised.
Yes, Mataji. This third point, Kshatriya should not refuse invitation of gambling and war. Even gambling also we have. Why is that so?
And I don't just, this is according to the codes of their conduct that they're not supposed to refuse it. Why is it so? We have to go back to Manusamhita and read. This is not spiritual. As it is not, it's not a spiritual thing. Because if you read the fine lines, that Prabhupada writes in one of the purports that the obligation is the binding if the effect is good. But if the effect is not good, then the obligation is not binding. You get it? Like this is not an obligation. So should not refuse invitation of gambling and war. That doesn't mean that they can never refuse. But if the obligation is binding, Prabhupada writes there, right? Then there's no need to accept. But if the obligation is not binding, then we must not refuse. Now, why did Pandavas accept the invitation to gamble? I don't know. I have not read Mahabharata. Has anyone read Mahabharata to understand the psychological reason behind the acceptance? But this is a code of conduct. Like, for example, a physician cannot refuse to treat a patient, even if the person has money or no money. Even if they're tired or not tired. They cannot, because that's how they are, right? Or a parent cannot get up in the middle of the night for a newborn child just because they're tired and they had a busy day. They need to get up because it's obligatory. Did you get it? I don't know the Mahabharata part. We can discuss and study. Maybe all of us can look up why did they accept the invitation to gamble at the first place. Anvaya Mataji, do you know?
What I've read is during those times, they were, like you said, there were certain rules of conduct. So they had to do it. If someone would challenge them for a war or, gamble. Similarly, see other things also, they always went in the forest hunting. Sometimes with their bare hands, they fought with wild animals. So this was, to make them very skillful in the war. So when they hunted animals, they would bring the dead body and, give a proper funeral also. Similarly, they had many wives. That was also for diplomatic reasons, so that, there won't be any kind of hostility between the two kingdoms. So like these were the codes of conduct.
Okay. I will look up. Nikhil Prabhu, why don't you look up too? And then
Sure.
we can come back to it. Okay, so we'll just come back to this part. 37th verse, we studied that Arjun is seeing only greed. And 38th, he understands the result of participating in the war, that no one is actually going to get benefited. But he knows, this is where his confusion is coming. He knows that the codes of conduct is that he cannot refuse it. But he's somehow trying to, pursue Krishna not to go ahead with this war. And he's addressing Krishna as Madhava. I think he's addressing Krishna as Madhava in this verse 38. Prabhupada explains that Madhava means like the husband of the goddess of fortune. Basically, Krishna brings fortune to everyone, everywhere he goes. So what makes Krishna bring misfortune at this war field? That's why he's addressing Krishna as Madhava. Then 39th verse, destruction of the dynasty, family tradition is vanquished and family is involved in the irreligion, which we will study a little bit in more detail in the forthcoming slides. So in the Varnashram system, this is how it's set up. Varna and Ashram. Varna means according to one's occupational duty. Ashram means or social order. Varna means social order and Ashram means one's spiritual order. So Varna is social order means Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra. And Ashram is Brahmachari, Grihasth, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. Okay, fourth chapter, we will discuss a little more that what are the different kinds of varnas for each ashram. So it can be, so because he's a Kshatriya, let's focus on him. That in Varnashram, and elders of the family are responsible for giving us the tradition. From what are we supposed to do at every steps? But he's saying if the elders will die, then these traditions or purificatory processes will dry or will finish, and young people will become irreligious, and there will be loss of getting a chance for spiritual salvation. So Arjun only sees destruction of the family. This is the final reason he gives in this particular chapter, fourth chapter, from verse 39 onwards. So I'll come to dharma, and so you all know this. I'm not going to go in here. Paradharma and aparadharma. The word dharma is like understood by each person differently. But what Srila Prabhupada explains is that dharma means one's duty, or one's duty binding to how do you say that? Which is integral to something. Like, for example, Prabhupada gives example of a sugar. If the sugar is not sweet, then it's not sugar. So that's the integral quality of a thing, is its dharma. So the integral quality of a living entity is to be a part and parcel of Krishna, or to serve Krishna. So that's the real dharma. In second chapter, and again in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we will study that in material material constitution, when we come in material world and we become covered by modes of material nature, then this duty can be divided into two subheadings. What are those two subheadings? Second and 9th chapters. Anya Mataji, I expect you to know this.
Constitutional duty, that
Ah.
is for the soul, and one is for your body. I mean, whatever you're earning a livelihood, you're looking after your family.
Constitutional and conditional duty.
Conditional, yeah.
Okay, so that in other words, it's paradharma and aparadharma. And para and apara words are used in chapter 15 also by Krishna. And he says, what does he say? Para apara evacha. So, paradharma is something which is same for everyone, same for every living entity. There's no difference in between in one's paradharma, because everyone can chant Hare Krishna. Even one is a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or whatever, everyone can chant Hare Krishna. But aparadharma is going to be different for different individuals. Some things will be common. For example, everyone is supposed to abide by the state law. Everyone is supposed to pay their taxes on time. Like, everyone is supposed to stop at the red light if one is going on the road. But it will differ according to what's going on in the family. So we'll not go in the moral context of it, but understand that what is the definition of the word dharma, and what is the meaning of paradharma, what is aparadharma, where in Bhagavad Gita Krishna mentions the conditional and constitutional state. You see, Bhakti Shastri is in labor intense if you really want to do it properly. So you no need to understand, but these are the different traditions that he's talking about. Arjun, the 16 sanskars, from starting from Garbhadan sanskar to the Antim sanskar. There's 16 sanskar. Sanskar means purificatory processes. That 40 major, but 40 total, but 16 major. So Arjun sees destruction of family and society. How will they? So elders of the family, we know this, are responsible for giving us purifying processes in family from birth to death. So death of the elder will stop the purification. Young people will become religious, and the loss of they lose the chance of spiritual salvation. So when the irreligion become prominent, he goes on further, then what happens? Women become polluted. And when women become polluted, then Varna Shankara comes out, or unwanted progeny. And that leads to war and pestilence and degradation of all the projects of community and society, and ultimately degradation of the soul. Where the women are protected, and they are made to abide by the purificatory processes of existence, then they are very powerful. Women are powerful, that they can give rise to a very good population, and that depends on the chastity. We see that in today's world. Prabhupada was in Texas. I think it was Texas. I saw the interview one time, where at the airport he was interviewed by a reporter. And she was a woman, it was a lady, and she was very hard on him. She was saying that why is in your society women are subdued? She saw that they're subdued. And Prabhupada said, how do you say that? Says, because we don't see women holding big positions. They're always covering their head. They're always in the back. They're always raising their family. Then Prabhupada said this, that actually they're not subdued, they're protected. Because if you say that women in the society in general in America, Prabhupada said, what happens? What happens in your country? He said, what happens when the man and woman come together and there is no marriage? The woman becomes pregnant, the man goes away. He's saying all this at the airport interview. Man goes away and the woman has to go and beg the government that give me food, give me protection, give my children all the facilities, right? So which woman, and in our society, they are protected, and the husband takes care of the family, and the women are taking care of the children, giving them good values. Which is better? When Prabhupada says this, there is no gray, it's all black or white. But we make our life so complicated that we get so many shades of gray. Okay, so it's not that the women are small or they can't do anything. Prabhupada has given classes after classes on teachings of Queen Kunti, and there's so many nice seminars we have conducted on celebrating the women from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Arjun is seeing the failure of Varnashram system if he goes ahead with the war. And he also gives more reason in verse 39 to 41. We studied till here that Varna Shankara will be born. So which will lead to pestilence and war, which will lead to degradation of the progeny, which will also lead to hellish condition for who? For everybody, for a family, and who destroyed the family tradition. So the whole family goes to hell, and also the main person who actually started this tradition of destroying the family tradition. And the ancestors are not offered oblations, and the ancestors don't get relief. Okay, so, and then next, going further, I'm just building verse by verse. Arjun has heard from Dharma Shastra that those who destroy family tradition dwell in hell. So this is just nutshell. Says this: when the superiors are killed, there's destruction of the family dynasty. There'll be destruction of the eternal family tradition. And then from verse 39, and when the family tradition is destroyed, irreligion will predominate. Then he says, the irreligion predominates, women are not protected, they become polluted. When they become polluted, then Varna Shankara comes out. And then from Varna Shankara comes out, then all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated, results in chaos in the society. Okay, so you're supposed to write the way I'm showing here, the 6 steps for your exam. But more than passing the exam, must understand what's really happening. Any confusion, question? Again, I'm showing this. So those whose family tradition are destroyed, they dwell in hell. Madan Mohan Krishna Leela Das Prabhu. Let's go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I want to know that if Varna Shankara means a child are their born, so will the Kula Dharma will be destroyed? I just want to confirm that how to stop it. Like Arjuna is thinking that if he killed all this Kaurava, then other they will be, their widows will be involved with other people like they will repeat sex and other thing, then Varnashankara will be. So how to stop it, Mataji?
I didn't quite understand the question. You're saying that how do we stop Varna Shankara from coming in today's time? Is that what you're asking, Prabhu? Can you clarify? Is this what he was asking? Can anyone tell me? What was he asking? What did you understand?
Yes, Mataji, the same thing what you said, how to stop Varna Sankara in the present situation.
Yeah, what is the answer? Uh-huh. Only we have so many problems, but one solution. Huh?
You lead a Krishna conscious life.
Yes. Chant Hare Krishna. You to perform Sankirtan Yajna. There's so many problems, one solution. Very simplified version, because Mandasu Manda Patiyo Manda Bhagyo Parita. Kali Yuga, you cannot understand anything. Short, very easy to ignite any kind of misunderstanding. Very easy to just ignite a fire and fight over it. But the solution is only Sankirtan Yajna. And to be able to, you see, this knowledge that we are getting, we're not getting this knowledge to become Gyani. We are just getting this knowledge so we can actually reinforce our ability to chant Hare Krishna and Sankirtan Yajna. We have to always go back to our chanting. There's no point in becoming a Gyani only and not going to the final level of becoming a devotee of Krishna. We can use this knowledge to become a devotee of Krishna, but don't get so like proud of just being able to understand or recite Bhagavad Gita. How is your chanting? Is the test of how good is your knowledge. So the answer is given, Prabhu, that Sankirtan Yajna is the solution. That's why Prabhupada was moving here, there, everywhere. So Arjuna is thinking, driven by desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are ready to kill even our own people. Oh my gosh, every time, I think every year, I read Bhagavad Gita once, every year, in the last 22, every year. Every time I read this first chapter, fully convinced that Arjun is right and he should not fight. Like, how many of you feel that way? That every
True.
time that Arjun,
Very true.
is that the good reasons?
True, Mataji.
Arjun must not fight. Until Krishna starts speaking, then we get churning in the heart. Oh, okay, this is. But if you only read first chapter, Bhagavad Gita, correct, Mahabharata should not have happened. He's absolutely right. So he's driven by this desire. So Arjun decided it's better to die unarmed in the battlefield. Unarmed in the battlefield. Just come and kill me. So Arjun's fear of sinful reactions of killing his relatives is driven by his desire to enjoy the royal happiness. So the relatives are driven by their desire to enjoy the royal happiness. And Arjun does not want to fight because he is fearful of the sinful reactions. When he says that it is better to die in the battlefield unarmed, it is coming from the place of Arjun's soft-heartedness because he's a devotee of Krishna. So if one person dies and millions of others live, which is better? One person dying, right? This is his calculation. And this is our calculation too in our life. But let's see what Krishna holds. So Arjun, overwhelmed with grief, cast aside his bow and arrow and sat down on the chariot. And says, Krishna, I will not fight. And imagine Dhritarashtra must be so happy hearing this, no? He's not going to fight. Because his question was, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha, what did they do? So far, no fight. So again, I'll come to 46th verse. Arjun, overwhelmed with grief, cast aside his arrow and bows and sat down in the chariot. So he has discriminated and used his intelligence to give these reasons to Krishna. Okay, so these are the questions. Don't get overwhelmed with the busyness of the slide. But these are the reasons he's giving from verse 27 to 28. Compassion, that my family is object of my compassion. I'm soft-hearted. and fearful, right? From verse 31 to 35, no enjoyment. If my family is gone, even at the cost of earning kingdom of the three worlds, still does not see enjoyment. Then destruction of the family tradition, which has a lot of questions for in Bhakti Shastri, must be able to explain the hierarchy from verse 37 to 43, and then from verse 44 to 45 he fears the sinful reactions. And then next time we will study chapter 2. Okay, so any questions before I bring up the questions from the handbook to see if there's any question there for any one of you? Questions, reflections, realizations. So today we studied, we started from verse number 28 and finished till 46, that Arjun is giving reasons. We did a quick overview of the chapter before that what has happened so far in chapter 1. And then understand in Bhakti Shastri, you are expected to understand the knowledge, that what's really happening behind these reasons. In other levels, we are expected to just mention them. Okay, so it's important that you understand well. I need to know the page number for the book for Bhagavad Gita questions. I guess these are the ones. I don't remember the page number, and I think these are the ones, right? Why don't I give you a chance before we go to the questions? Any questions, reflections, realizations, corrections? Or I already made you all sleep off? India, it's afternoon, no? Everybody ate lunch and sitting for the class. It's difficult. Yes, so Praja Mataji. Are you there?
Yes, Mataji.
You have a question, reflection, or realization?
No, Mataji.
Okay. Hey, Madan Mohan Krishna Lila Das Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Actually, I want to spot a light because when Krishna was a friend of Arjuna, he was just putting excuses that he will not fight or he will put everything. But as soon as Krishna played the role of a spiritual master, then at once he gives the order, which he gives some quotes from like in the previous next verses will look. It will directly like order to a disciple that you have should fight for me. So in the friend may Arjuna may did not get order to do all this thing, but when Krishna play role of a spiritual master, then at once Arjuna is to accept it. I think that is the difference between a friend and a guru, who clears all
Okay.
the ignorance from our hearts and gives the light how to we follow our pursuit.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you. Pottery Rao Prabhu, you are driving the bike and you're attending the class. Not a very great way to drink the nectar. Maybe just hear it and not watch us on the video, if I may request. Thank you, Krishna Lila Das Prabhu. Okay, so I will go to the question. So last time we discussed until what is the meaning of the word Gudakesh. So list 6 kinds of aggressors. I think we studied this. And then list the progressive steps leading towards the destruction of dynasty. When the question says list, there's no need to explain, just list. But I am going to be sharing the open book questions with all of you from the first section of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita in Bhakti Shastri is divided into 3 parts. Bhagavad Gita 1, 2, and 3. We are doing 1, which is from chapter number 1 to chapter number 6. And then 2 is the middle, 7 to 12, and then 13 to 18 is the third part. So there is these open book questions, which I am discussing and showing up. But then there is open essays, which will be given to you, open book assessment questions, which one is expected to write. I will give you 3, and out of the 3, you need to write 2. And you will have the time till the end of the unit 1 to submit those answers. We've not yet decided how the submission will go because we're going to make some changes this time. But you start writing the essays. Choose any of the 2 out of the 3 that I'll send, which will be from Bhagavad Gita 1, chapter 1 to chapter 6. And you're supposed to, I will put the word limits, and I'll also give like, okay, what is the concession if you exceed the word limit? How much can you exceed and how much can you not exceed? All that will be given in your question. But start writing. Don't wait till the end, and start also memorizing the verses. I hope every one of you have the list of the verses that you're supposed to memorize. You don't have it, Nikhil Prabhu? It was shared in the WhatsApp group. You have it? Everyone is supposed to have it. I would advise make a folder in your devices to be able to keep track. It's very difficult. It gets difficult because then more and more things will add up. If you're organized, your mode of goodness, then it's easy. If the mode is passion and ignorance, waiting till the last minute, then it is going to be very painful. Okay, so what is driving you? Okay, I think any questions, reflections, realizations, corrections? Next time, let me tell you what I expect all of you to read and come. Yes, any questions, reflections, realizations, corrections? There was this question raised when I was doing this Bhakti Shastri, that Arjun is not initiated, or is he initiated? So you have to understand that which parampara is Arjun coming from. So the answer is very interesting, but I want you to think about it. And if you remind me next time, then I'll tell you the answer. So this is Arjun. Where are we seeing Arjun's initiation happening? So, but think about it. That where is Arjun stand in terms of the initiation? Okay, let me just see next week. What are we doing? Next time, I intend to make breakout rooms, and you are going to be expected to discuss the question that I will give for discussion, and then one of you from the breakout room will be a representative and is expected to explain. So there'll be a little discussion. It's difficult to do online, but we are going to give it a try. Okay. Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sorry, I'm checking on the back. Till what verse are you expected to read next week? It's opening.
Mataji, also in the meantime, we need your help to form the BV groups, Bhakti Vriksha groups.
So they're not formed yet?
No, Mataji.
So Bhakti Vriksha groups, I would advise, because it's a long-term relation, it's a long-term course, it's always advisable to form the subgroups in this group. I don't know how you're gonna, last time I just told the people, the devotees, and they just did it on their own. Yes, I will tell you what to do when you make a group, but at least make a group on your own, like at least no more than 4 or 5 devotees in a group. So you can have some regularity about discussing and studying in a group. It's always going to be helpful. It has always so far proven in the last 3.5 years that I've seen 100% helpful. So make the groups. Okay, read till verse 30 at least. We'll see how much we can finish. Second chapter, read till verse 30 for next week.